Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Sole Drop, and this is my performance review of D'Angelo Russell's signature shoe with Way of Wade. So Way of Wade is Dwayne Wade's brand. They make amazing hoop shoes for a really good price and a really good quality hoop shoes as well. But this is kind of like a little bit of a departure from that because this shoe does not feel as good as all of their other shoes in their lineup. Like for example, like the All City 12 Encore, the All City 12, the 808 Ultra, you know, the Wow 11, even the Wade Flash, which is like $100, you know. So this shoe retails for $120, which I think I feel like they should have been like at least like 110 at max, you know what I mean? Maybe in my personal opinion, like even $100 would have been really nice for the price for this shoe, especially for the overall quality of the upper, which we'll get into. But anyways, if you guys do want to cop, try to leave in the affiliate link in the description box. And if you do choose to get this shoe, it does help me out if you buy it through the affiliate link in the description box if you want to get this shoe. And as always, thank you guys so much for all the support. But yeah, the naming scheme is very weird for this shoe, right? So this shoe right over here, the newest one is called Wade Ice Blood 2. The Wade Ice Blood 2, right? But the original one, right, he actually, D'Angelo Russell did have some other shoes with Way of Wade. It was called the D-Low Ice for the first one, but the second one was the Ice Blood V2. So the Ice Blood V2 and the Wade Ice Blood 2, yeah, like, it's a little bit confusing for the name. I don't know why it's literally the same exact name and number, but anyways, let's get it started off with the traction. So the traction is actually pretty dang solid, right? At first, it was pretty nice. Even at first, it's pretty nice, and you don't really need to break it in, but once you break it in and keep playing it actually does improve a little bit, right? So just like on some stops, it was a little bit inconsistent and it would slide out just a tiny, it would slide just a tiny bit, you know what I mean? Like not have the best bite. But then, you know, once I kept playing it and broke it in, it just has a really nice, solid bite. Is it top tier traction? No. For example, like the GCU, the ground control unit found in like the All City 12 Encore and the Wow 11 is top tier traction. You pretty much stop on a dime. It has a really nice bite, right? But for this shoe, it has a very solid bite, right? So if the GCU is like a 10 out of 10, I would give this like an 8 out of 10, you know? So it's still pretty dang nice, you know? It's passing. And yeah, as far as like, you know, on a clean court, you know, if you broken this shoe in, you're gonna be good to go. You have very, very nice stops. On dust, however, it does pick up a little bit of dust, which is not the best, right? I was sliding around a good amount, and I did need to wipe a good amount too. So if you're playing on a super dusty court, this definitely is not the best option. But if you do wipe a lot, and it's not the easiest wipe, but you know, if you do wipe a lot, you should be okay. But again, this shoe definitely doesn't have the best dust performance. However, if you're playing on an outdoor court, you should be good to go, right? The rubber is extremely hard. The grooves are very, very deep and also super duper thick with this traction pattern here in the forefoot, and also here in the heel, you should be fine. So durability on outdoor court, you should be good to go. As far as the squeak goes, this shoe does not have that much of a squeak, right? Especially at first, when I was playing it, it was pretty much silent, right? But now that it's broken in, it squeaks a little bit more, but again, not that squeaky, especially comparing it to like the All City 12 Encore. And also the Wow 11, which is super duper squeaky. So yeah, of course, squeak has nothing to do with performance, but for all my hoopers out there that like to have a squeak, this shoe does not squeak that much. One thing that I appreciate about the shoe, however, is the outsole curvature, right? So it has a nice rounded shape here where the ball of your foot is, right? For the most part, this is pretty dang flat here in the forefoot, right? So that feels nice. But then when you're doing crazy movements like this, like crossovers and stuff, you do have the rubber coming up here on the medial side of the shoe, wrapping up so you have better grip when you're doing these types of movements, which I do appreciate. I really like that, right? So overall, the traction is pretty dang nice. And now moving on to the heel to toe transition, extremely smooth, right? So here in the heel, we have a little bit of a curved shape, but it is kind of caged for the heel cushion, right? For this foam, just a tiny bit, right? But overall, it is pretty dang nice here in the heel when you're running down the court. And then here in the forefoot, we have a nice rounded shape too. But yeah, look at this. Look at this, right? There's no midfoot chain play, right? So it's not that that's bad, it's just a different feel, right? So for example, if you're playing like the Wow 11, which has a full-length carbon fiber unit, it's more bouncy and springy and explosive feeling in the Wow 11 because of that plate. and you also have a little bit of that springiness in that shoe and just more stiffness, you know. But in this shoe, it just feels a lot more fluid and a lot like, you know, just moves with your foot a little bit more. Your foot's gonna need to do a little bit more work while you're playing, which of course that's not a good thing, it's not a bad thing, you know. It's on preference on what you like to feel. Personally, for me, I like to have a full-length carbon fiber plate, and for me personally, right? I do appreciate this. It feels a little bit more free-flowing, you know. It feels like there's a little bit more freedom when you're playing, but I like to have a little bit more support under my foot, so there's a heel to toe transition there. Moving on to the cushioning setup. So the cushioning setup is where this shoe shines a little bit because yeah, for 120 bucks they gave us Boom, and it's 75% Boom and also Cloud Plus, right? So we have Cloud Plus right over here, and you can see the Boom exposed here in the mid, both on the lateral side and also on the medial side a little bit where your arch is, right? So here in the heel we have a little bit of compression because, like I said, we have this plastic piece and there's a little bit of compression, right? And it cages the foam here in the heel, which I'm not a huge fan of. The overall court feel is really good. You are pretty dang low to the ground. And then, of course, like I said, we do have 75% Boom. So the step and comfort is pretty nice. It reminds me of Speedform from the Curry 2. Do you guys remember the Curry 2? I believe it was Speedform, right? With the material and because of how it's made, they needed to stitch the insole into the actual shoe. So there was no insole like that you can take on the Curry 2, and this is pretty much the exact same. And we do have like a cloth-like material almost, and yeah, it feels really soft for step and comfort, especially here in the heel. I really like that. And here in the forefoot, it gets a little bit more dead. You know, it's not as nice in the forefoot because it is thinner. And also that's probably where the Boom ends because it is 75% Boom, but in the heel it's pretty dang nice. Overall impact protection is nice. However, if you're doing hard impacts, it's not the best. Heel strikes, you should be good to go, right? Like I said, you got the Boom, it's a little bit thicker, but in the forefoot, not as nice. Your forefoot is gonna hurt a little bit more. But yeah, it feels, I do like the cushioning setup, right? But again, for 120 bucks, not the best. And also there's a lot better options from Way of Wade, right? For example, the All City 12 Encore. You have that soft mesh strobe board, it's full length Boom. You have just as good court feel, but you have way better step and comfort and impact protection. Same thing with the 8084 Ultra. You have full length Boom, but it's a drop in. Your foot is right on top of the Boom. The WOW 11, same thing. Even the Wade Flash, I feel like is a little bit better. You know what I mean? It has better court feel in the Wade Flash, just a tiny bit better, but still better step and comfort and a little bit better impact protection. I guess besides in the heel though. So yeah, it's still okay though, I feel like, in my personal opinion. So there is the cushioning setup there. Moving on to the upper. So the upper is definitely my least favorite part about this shoe, right? So it just feels extremely cheap, and I definitely feel like they kind of skimped out on the quality there, right? So we have a good amount of fuse overlays, and it's basically just like this mesh material. And with this upper, it just reminds me of, like, you know, cheap shoes found in like the early 2010s, you know? And it just feels flimsy, and I guess like on foot it doesn't feel bad, but it's stiff and flimsy and just cheap feeling, you know? And it doesn't conform to your foot that well. Even though it is broken in, it's still like not that soft. So that kind of makes me sad, you know what I mean? Because Way of Wade usually does a really good job with the quality of their shoes, right? And then here on the medial side, we have these kind of like cutouts. It kind of looks like a shark gill, like, and also we have the yin yang logo with kind of like a strap. You know, it's a window. You can see the strap that kind of goes down, kind of improves the support. And also here on the lateral side, we can see the straps as well with the shark gills, but it's just a really cheap feeling material, and durability does not seem like it'll be the best, right? Also for the tongue, we have zero padding. You know, there's not that much padding, and it's a half booty construction tongue though, which is good. I do like that. And then here in the ankle area, very minimal padding on the sides. Here where your Achilles is, it does get a little bit more plush. That does feel pretty nice. It wraps around your Achilles. That feels pretty nice, but overall it's a really minimal feeling upper, right? So like on foot, if you like a minimal feeling upper, and also another plus, well, like one plus about this upper is that the airflow and the ventilation is really good, right? A lot of airflow. Yeah, I guess it is overall pretty supportive. So like on foot, it's not terrible, but it's definitely not the best, right? Also, we do have an asymmetrical lacing system. Kind of reminds me of like, I believe it's a Hyperlive. You guys remember James Harden shoe with Nike? So that's there. But yeah, the upper definitely is not a strong suit in my personal opinion for this shoe. And then moving on to the fit. Also, the fit was not good for me, right? So I went true to size, and this shoe fits so freaking narrow. And you guys know, like, I really like a very snug fit, right? Width-wise, I like a snug fit. Even if it's like kind of squeezing the side of my foot, not a huge deal, especially when I'm hooping, right? Also, I like a snug fit here in the toe box, but this shoe is the narrowest shoe that I've put my foot into in like a long time, like a couple years, I feel like, right? So not only is it squeezing the side of my foot, like my pinky toe, but then like it's squeezing my entire foot where it goes like this, right? It's squeezing my foot like this, right? So it kind of moves the overall kind of like shape of my foot like inwards, you know what I mean? It's not like my pinky toe is just like being smushed, it's just my entire foot in the forefoot. So yeah, I mean, if you have a really skinny foot, then I guess that's fine. But then if you have a normal size foot, which is like most people, you should probably go up half a size. But again, this shoe does run a little bit long, I feel like. There's a little bit of length. So if you do go up half a size, it's going to be pretty long. And also here in the toe box, it's kind of roomy, right? Like, look at it. It kind of comes up. It's a little bit roomy. So yeah, I don't know. It's not the best fitting shoe for me, and I really didn't like it. And a lot of other people are saying it's a really narrow fit as well. So, and just be careful with that. Again, if you have a skinny foot, then you should be fine. But for most of the other people out there, this probably is not the best option. If you go true to size, you probably go up half a size. But again, that's not gonna be the best fit for length and all that. So. There is the fit there. Moving on to the support and lockdown. Support and lockdown is overall pretty dang good. So for lateral containment, I had zero issues, right? So we have this fused material, right? That goes around the tip of the toe. And that does stiffen up the upper a good amount, which I do like. And also we have the foam coming up and this kind of like plastic piece a little bit. So yeah, here in the forefoot you're covered. And here in the heel we have an internal TPU heel counter as well as the foam and this plastic piece. So lateral containment, I'm good to go. I didn't really have any issues with my foot coming out of the footbed. It's just the upper isn't like the most supportive upper. So even though my foot's not coming out of the footbed, my foot was moving inside of the shoe a little bit because there's no kind of structure to the overall shoe or the overall material, right? So I wish they would have added a little bit of something, but again, it's adequate. But then if you want a lot of support, especially from your upper, this is not the best option, right? But I feel like most people, you should be okay. Lateral stability, I was good to go, right? We do have a very wide base. You can see the outrigger right over here. So lateral stability is good. And overall lockdown was pretty good as well, besides the upper not feeling the most supportive. It's just I didn't experience like heel slippage or anything like that. So overall support and lockdown is pretty good. And now moving on to the weight of the shoe. This shoe is probably, if I remember correctly, like pretty dang light because it's just, there's nothing to it. You know what I mean? There's no foam for the overall upper and stuff like that. Yeah, and it's freaking light. It's 10.45 ounces, guys. And let's check the other shoe. It comes in at 10.2 ounces. So that's like more than 2 ounces lighter than average. The average weight of my shoes is around 12.5 ounces. So that's one good thing about this shoe. It feels extremely freaking lightweight, extremely minimal, and also really freaking fluid. You know what I mean? So it's like the opposite of the Wow 11. The Wow 11 feels really sturdy, very supportive, especially with that full length carbon fiber plate, right? But then this shoe, it's just super fluid. Your foot has to do a little bit more kind of work, you know? But if you like that kind of feel, especially with the very minimal upper and very lightweight shoe, this is a great option. But for me, in my personal opinion, I would sacrifice a little bit of the weight. I would add like an ounce or two to the overall upper, make it a little bit more cozy, and maybe add a little bit of something here to make it a little bit more stable and sturdy feeling for me personally, right? So there is the weight there. Moving on to the aesthetics, I feel like it's okay. It's not my favorite design. I definitely feel like some of the other shoes look a lot better, right? Like the All City 12 Encore, the Wow 11 looks pretty dang good. This one looks alright, right? So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, yeah, not a huge fan of this shoe, right? So again, like I said, if you want a really minimal, very thin upper, very lightweight shoe that feels extremely fluid and soft, right? Then this is a great shoe for you. And also like the cushion's pretty dang nice too, especially for stepping comfort. And the traction is pretty dang nice, especially with the outsole curvature. Yeah, other than that, like if you want a little bit more cushion, if you want a lot more supportive or sturdy feeling shoe, this definitely is not the best option. And I definitely feel like the audience that would like this shoe is pretty small. You know what I mean? I don't think there's gonna be that many people that like this shoe. Again, because there are better options out there in my personal opinion. Like for example, the Wade Flash. The Wade Flash is $100. It's $20 cheaper. It has just as good cushion, maybe a little bit worse, but still really nice, especially for court feel. Traction is freaking amazing. The ventilation is just as good, if not better, but just feels a lot more sturdy. You know what I mean? Like, even though it's still really flexible and all that, it just feels a lot more supportive for the overall upper and for the bottom of the shoe, like the sole of the shoe, which I enjoy a lot more in my personal opinion, right? So yeah, in my personal opinion, this definitely is not my favorite hoop shoe. It's definitely not the best for performance. But again, you know, I definitely feel like there is a little bit of an audience for people that would enjoy this shoe, but a very small percentage of people, you know? But again, if you do want to save money, there are still a couple of colorways and a couple of sizes available for the Wade Flash. This is an amazing budget shoe, right? I definitely feel like this is better than this shoe. So anyways, that about concludes my performance review of the Wade Ice Blood 2. Again, if you guys do want to call, try to leave in the link in the description box. But that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.